My account is as difficult as 30 chunk accounts put together.
What raid chunk did you start in?
Well, hold on a damn second.
Serious?
Hey, Chunk Evil!
Oh, really?
Are you serious right now?
rat bastard.
Hold on.
Cue, chump evil.
As I was saying, I moved around these chunks by a random event, so my account is sort of grinding all of them at once. Up until now, I've been a little baby chunker, tossed around to wherever Pete takes me as I struggle through the early levels. But this episode, this is where it all changes. We're finally getting some big unlocks, doing some big grinds with terrible equipment, and rolling some serious chunks. Welcome to Chunk Evil. Let's see where Pete sent us this time. Ooh, the lumberyard chunk. Oh, this is huge. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does nothing by itself, but once we connect this to a bank, and then maybe the Varrock teleport chunk, that lets us train construction. Now, this account doesn't have tasks associated with the player-owned house, just stash units and quest requirements, overworld stuff, but we can choose to train it. Once we get a tool store and a kitchen and the various storage buildables like in the costume room, this is really going to be great for bankless chunks we get sent to. Imagine I'm in a chunk where I don't have access to a tinderbox, or I do have access to a butter churn, but not a cow. Boom, kitchen fixes both of those by providing a stove and a larder. Hell, with a larder I can feed myself by making doughs to cook or make into other food, or even just cook eggs if I have a bowl. Tool stores let me access things like this, the higher construction level I have. The only real concern is getting back to my chunk, but places like Camelot that have a teleport but no bank, or Lumbridge where I can't make consistent, decent food, this will really open up some options. Okay, let's check this place out real quick. Can we start this quest? Oh, probably a bit above my pay grade. Okay, first things first. The looting bag is empty, we never got those ores inserted into it, and we definitely don't have a use for these ores now that we're here, so that's gotta go. I'm not even sure I'll hang on to this looting bag. Without a bank, it's mostly useless, and I would hate to find us in the Wildy with a banked looting bag, which would stop us from getting and using another. Definitely something to think on. Upstairs where we just were is the Family Crest boys. Nothing to do there until we unlock the quest art. Well, we have at least beer for healing again, which is good. I don't think we have another food here. Hey, a thread spawn. I definitely need a hop for a good stack of these to bank with the random event deposit box in the Leo random event. And most of the rest of the chunk is just trees, except for the main attraction, the lumberyard. We can get inside and see the cat's meows from the Gertrude quest, and we could do the diary achievement of chopping down 5 trees here if I had an axe, but we don't. So then I went to the palace chunk. If you've been keeping up with the series, you know about how I changed my rules. I used to treat any chunk Pete sent me to as permanently unlocked, but that was stupid, and I realized that I needed to keep everything self-contained. That day is here. I have never gained anything huge, levels, or items besides this bitchin' cape in my illegal chunk expeditions, but this is the last one, and I did do something pretty big here even if it didn't get me anything. So I'm going to give you a really quick rundown of what went on, and then I'll never have to agonize about how to edit this into a video again. I ran over to the library to ask Reldo about Encamdo Dwarves to progress the Knight's Sword quest. Then in a stupid attempt to preserve inventory space, I destroyed my looting bag. We'll see if that comes back to bite me. I used the Iron Axe spawn in the Varrock sewers to make a plank for the Varrock diary task. I got a tinderbox back from Imp Drops and spent a lot of AFK time chopping trees and burning logs, going all the way up to level 46 woodcutting and 33 fire making, working towards chopping and burning new trees, a task in both this and the lumberyard chunk if I have an axe. When I wasn't AFKing, I was killing moss giants, trying to get mossy keys, while also trying to stack pots of flour from imps and make meat pies for a brio attempt. I got 1600 from a lamp, I got the mossy key, and then I got a long bone on the very next kill, which I buried. Then I spent an ungodly amount of time stacking meat pies for the brio attempt since I wouldn't have any good options for fighting other than melee. It didn't go great. I started out strong with some good hits on her, but once the first growthlings popped up, I couldn't get any good spaces to do any more significant damage to her. The accuracy with my weapon on the growthlings was terrible, and took me so long to kill them that they essentially just spawned back to back for the rest of the fight until I ran out of prayer and food and had to run. And that's everything I did. And here's where we finalize the rules. Alright, I've been talking to some of the boys in the Discord, and the rules as they stand just don't make any sense. I'm not a real chunker, but I do want to do things the right way and not leave my current chunk, Pete willing. So I'm going back to the lumberyard chunk, and the only way I'm going to get back to this one or any other one is by way of a Pete teleport or rolling out. So I'm gonna drop everything I picked up in the other chunk, besides some air and water runes I got from a maze random. And I'm dropping the one thing that hurts the most, the purple cape. We don't deserve it, right now, but I'll have it back one day. I think I need a beer after that. Oh, right, I dropped all my money. Excuse me, ma'am. Ah, there we go. So let's talk about the chunk tasks here. And that's it. Yep, there are actually no chunk tasks here. So let's go to the chunk picker. So yes, there are yew trees here, but since I dropped my axe, I can't do the yew wood cutting task I was talking about a few clips back. Just wanted to mention that since I foresee it being a question in the comments. For the chunks around us, we have the Silveria chunk, which would be just starting the Rag and Bone Man quest and mining a limestone. That would be really cool to have so we could start working our way into Mauritania. We have an empty wilderness chunk, but I don't want that. Every chunk closer to a wilderness grind is one step closer to my personal hell. We have the Varrock chunk. That would be embarrassing to roll after my dramatic cape dropping a second ago. But you know what's there. Cryo and Scurious and 60 woodcutting and fire making, 1,000 different tasks. And finally we have the Varrock East Gate chunk, which is my best outcome since it puts me closer to a bank. Anytime we can connect bankless sectors of chunks to banks is a happy day for me since it opens so many doors. Alright, I won't keep you waiting. Let's do this. Yes, that's perfect. I think the only task here is to start a Soulsbane. Yep, that's the only task it says. I can't do anything else for the quest until I have a rope, the closest of which is at a bank. However, I think I can do the diary task for stealing a tea from the tea stall. The picker doesn't know I have the level to do that. And that's Soulsbane started. If we get to that mythical bank, we can actually do the rest of the quest. Well, I mean, I could die, but we could in theory do that quest. Let's go steal that tea and roll out again. What's in this chest? Oh, it's 3 music tracks. Let me just take one of these, and there's the diary achievement. This tea stand is pretty nice. I don't have to rely on beer for food, and I'm putting hard air quotes on that. Anyways, I don't think there's anything else we can do here. I don't see how we could. So, back to the chunk picker. So we of course have the ability to roll any of the chunks we didn't last time, but we have a few new additions, of which are the dig site area, with most of the dig site quests except for the start, of course. The Varrock mine with not much more than the mine itself, and the golden chunk, Varrock Center, which not only has a bank and a rune shop, but also a teleport location and a ton of other stuff that's incredibly useful to me. I'll give you one guess at which one I want. No time to waste though. We don't milk content after all, so let's roll. Silveria chunk. Okay, basically another free chunk. Let's go mine a limestone, kill a bat, and start Rag and Bone Man, and we'll be right back to rolling. Well, I was so excited I forgot to hit record after switching from the chunk picker. The mining task didn't show up until I manually added the bronze pick we've been carrying around, but as you can see, I've already mined the limestone. I know. Invigorating content I failed to record there. Here's the quest log to show that I started and did all that I could of Rag and Bone Man. We'll slowly accumulate the bones of creatures we need to kill, but we can't do anything else in this quest until we get vinegar from Fortunato and Draenor, which you use to bleach the bones. One last thing to do, and we're done. Back to the chunk picker for another roll. So the new additions, we have a nothing wilderness chunk, literal free real estate. And since the dig site was already rollable, the only other new addition is the Paterdomus chunk, where I could continue but not complete the Priest in Peril quest. If we can connect this sector to the Palace chunk before or after rolling Paterdomus, we would be able to get into Mauritania. I would love to get into Mauritania, not for any real particular reason, just because so few chunkers get to go there. Anyways, let's see what we end up with. Well, I can tell you right now, there's nothing new there. I distinctly remember Frey rolling this exact same chunk and walking up behind the Slayer Tower, declaring there to be nothing there, but I don't trust that guy, so we'll go check it out ourselves. And can confirm there's nothing here at all. Just some trees you can't even cut down and some wild terrain, no pun intended. Alright, let's roll again. New additions are the wilderness chunks to the north and west of what we just rolled. The north chunk has nothing in it except the zombie pirate shipwreck, which has no actual attackable zombie pirates, just the chests you open from getting their keys. And the chunk to the west has nothing in it besides a few trees we've already cut. So if we roll any of the new ones, it's another immediate roll. Hit it! Okay, a nothing chunk. I'm not gonna go check that one. I know there's nothing there. I've spent hours just south of it, and, well, I know there's nothing there. So we roll again. New chunk is the Wildy chunk north of the palace, which does have giant rats, which would mean finally finishing this 58 cooking grind since we also have an imp spawn, and we can get their meat and cook it at the range in the bar. I wouldn't be mad at that just to get it out of the way, but let's see. Okay, we finally hit a roadblock. This has gone really fast for you, but I've been trying to consider all the grinds that have been in the various chunks around me, and this one is probably the biggest chunk to roll besides Varrock Center. We have a pickaxe, so we need to get the level for mining iron. Not a big deal, just a little bit of copper mining and dropping since we can't even bank it. We've got to kill a unicorn and a bear, new creatures for us, but also a chunk task so we can get the bear ribs and unicorn bone for the Rag and Bone Man quest, which I will be hanging on to for banking. And we can actually get an axe from the singular goblin that spawns in the dig site area. Once we get the axe, since there's yew trees in the lumberyard chunk, we'll need to get 60 wood cutting to chop those. Now, I would love to do that at the same time as fire making since I don't have a knife to train fletching, but I can get a tinderbox from imps that wander into our chunk from the palace chunk, and once I do, I'll need to get 60 fire making as well. Finally, there is a single giant rat spawn north of the mine, but we don't technically have 58 cooking as a chunk task since there are no imps that spawn in this chunk, and the Black Knight back at the bar has a 1 in 128 drop rate for flour, way above our 1 in 16 task limiter. First things first, we're going to power mine some copper real quick. We only need a level and a half to mine iron. There's level 15 mining. Let's snag an iron ore real quick, which I forgot was also a diary task for the Varrock area. And here's our bear and nearby unicorn. I'm going to kill a bear a few times to get some ribs and a few pieces of meat to hopefully bank in anticipation for the Herbler quest in Taverley where you need 4 different types of meat. I think I already have the chicken and rat meat banked, but I'll need bear and beef to eventually do that quest. Here's our goblin we need for the axe. It's a 1 in 128 drop rate, and this is easy to forget about this series, but if we only need one tool to drop to train a skill, a knife or a needle, a pickaxe or an axe, we have to get it regardless of the drop rate. It's only things that we would need continuously to train a skill that apply to the 1 in 16 drop rate limiter, like pots of flour or runes and such. Only the 3rd kill and we have the axe. Let's go secure a tinderbox and we can start trucking along on the yew grind. And there's our tinderbox. It's been an annoying tool to get since I have to hop around to find imps in my chunk. Probably spent a good 40 minutes just trying to get this. Alright, so this is where I've decided to grind out these levels. We have several oak trees right here and a huge line of open space to the west, which is the direction your character walks after making a fire. So it's pretty much the best spot I've found to train fire making easily with line fires. 35 fire making for the ability to burn teaks. We're going to be here for a while with the bronze axe, but I don't really mind this grind. I'm honestly happy to knock it out as well since there are a lot of yew trees in our various chunks. I brought my alt over with a forestry backpack to hopefully spawn some forestry events. This will help cut down on the woodcutting XP I need as I complete events and help me get some minor XP in hunter and farming and a few various skills. Some people see this as a bit of cheating, but Chunk Evil doesn't mind a bit of fudging the rules, if you couldn't guess. Ooh, look at this! A clue we could actually do if we had a spade in this chunk. I think I'm going to try and juggle this and any other dig at the mine beginner clues we get, since 2 of the chunks we have an ability to roll also have spades in them. The bank in the Varrock Center chunk, and the leprechaun in the palace chunk. So there's actually a decent chance I can do this if we get a good roll. We are up to 39 fire making and 47 wood cutting. I've put the respective skills up on the screen with the actions left for the next level. If I set the final goal to 60 wood cutting and fire making, not only will I miss a bunch of levels I'll probably end up editing out for the episode anyways, but I'll also be extremely disheartened at how many we need to chop and burn. However, on a side note, the clue step for the mine reminded me that we actually have a shooting star mining spot in this chunk. So I'm going to keep my ear to the ground for any stars that fall over there and maybe snag some AFK mining XP that's entirely safe from post-EP. Dropping some words of wisdom in clan chat to show off my new fire making knowledge that came with level 40. I think it was like Winston Churchill who said that. Really deep stuff. We've found a fallen star, but it's tier 3, so I can't mine it. I can actually only mine tier 1 stars at the moment, but I figure we can just power mine some iron to hopefully boost that level as we wait for it to degrade. I'd love to get level 30 at least so I could effectively utilize fallen stars in other chunks. Just getting to mine tier 1s really doesn't do that much for you. There's 22 mining and the star is about to degrade to a tier 2, so we can hop on that instead. If you're a frequent star miner, you may have noticed that when a star fully degrades and disappears, there's an absolute explosion of random events. See, fallen stars, when actively mined, actually delay random events from spawning. I'm not sure why this decision was made by JagX. Random events don't seem that intrusive while AFK mining stars, but I'm extremely happy about it. There is very, very little that I can actually do in this game that keeps me safe from post-EP. I've never had enough resources or access to a bank or grinds that require extensive processing of materials that I've gathered, but essentially bank standing is my only really consistently safe activity since banks stop random events from spawning. The wilderness stops random events that teleport the player away, but that has its own complications I'd rather not deal with. Shooting stars are unique in that they don't stop random events, but delay them. Outside of being in another random event space, or specifically interacting with, I haven't found any other things that delay, not cancel, random events. This is particularly useful to me because I can essentially gamble a random. Say I'm sitting in a star for an extended period of time, I can choose to stay there until the star is popped, hopefully get a random event that's not post-EP, and then have a clear and free hour after that in which I cannot get random events. That's not super useful here, but in the future, say I need to grind out an inventory heavy task where I want to bank my usual kit of stuff, or I need to do a dangerous task and don't want to keep certain things on me. I can gamble the random on a star, and, at the risk of getting tallied out, free up the next hour of time so I can do my inventory heavy or dangerous activities. The more mining levels I get, the longer I can sit at stars, and the better chance I have to actually get a random that gets delayed to the end of the star. It's a super niche application that I'm pretty sure only applies to me, but I wanted to share that strat because, damn it, I'm pretty proud of figuring out this tactic, and I don't think anyone would realize I'm doing it unless I said it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. About this time, I was hit up by an absolute legend, Shifty Chunks.
Did you say southwest or southeast mine?
Southeast. Shifty has an account where he plays a chunk for 1 hour, trying to complete all the tasks just like any other chunk man. But at the end of that hour, he rolls an adjacent chunk which he shifts to, and locks all the other chunks around him if they aren't completed. His series has taken him all over the map, and he has a staggering amount of videos, and a voice like butter on velvet. So if you're itching for a cool, new, unusual chunk man, he not only has a really cool concept, but tons of content for you to watch. He also made a brief series of interviews that he did with various chunkers called Chunk Chat, which is why he came by. We hung out for a bit, mostly chopping trees while we chatted about my account.
I'm excited for your next video to come out. As you said, next week, right?
Yeah, it's always next week.
What's been your favorite part of doing this series so far?
Probably just the chaos. I could be here right now. Let's see, I have a random event coming in 37 seconds. I could be whisked off to another chunk right now. And that really keeps me on my toes.
Well, everyone, I think anyone watching this, definitely go over to Chunk Evil, subscribe to their channel, and I don't know how to end this.
I've linked the Chunk Evil Chunk Chat in the description of this video if you want to check it out, get a bit more candid view of the series, and hear me stumble around my words when I don't have them pre-prepared in at least some sense. Nearly up to level 50 woodcutting, but you might have noticed a bit of a scenery change. One of the things Shifty reminded me of was that the goblin we were killing for the axe also drops a red cape, so I'm chopping trees here while I wait for it to respawn so we can get a cape back. Just a few kills later and there's our red cape, not nearly as cool as the purple one, but it's at least something. This one didn't show up in the chunk picker because I had gotten the same red cape from a different goblin that was the same level back in the monastery chunk. With the acquisition of the cape, we only have the 60 woodcutting and firemaking tasks left in this chunk. 45 firemaking for the ability to burn maples, and 50 woodcutting for chopping mahogany. Beekeeper here with some noted flax, which I do want to hang on to, but man, this is getting tough with my lack of inventory spaces. These forestry events are the real hero of this grind. I get some mulch events, which not only helps give me farming XP, which I desperately need, but also helps speed along the woodcutting. Here's a beekeeper event for what I think is our first ever construction XP, though it is just 1 XP per log at my current level. Ooh, this is the one we really want, the fox event. Not only for the chance of fox whistle, but also to get some minor hunter XP. Ah, but that's not what we want. Fox died. A genie lamp here for 17 hunter, which is the level to catch baby implings, if I had a net in jars. Nearly there. Ah, damn. We were 2 stardust away from level 30 mining, the sub-goal I set for myself so I could properly utilize other stars in other chunks. So just 1 more star till we reach that goal. Just kidding, I'm an idiot. Totally forgot we could, just mine some rocks for that level. And that's 30 mining. We can now mine coal and rune essence, and any chunk that had rocks, coal, and lower, I've completed that task preemptively. Some dude just ran up and killed a bear, but look, it's another chunker. He's not in the One Chunk Clan chat. This is actually just a totally random meeting. Crazy to just find another chunker in the wild like this. 55 woodcutting, we're over halfway there, but I would kill for a Leo random event to bank some of this stuff. It's not like hard to do, but it's just annoying having only 4 inventory spaces to work with for something so inventory heavy. Speak of the devil, not even a level later and Leo's here. Oh, this is so nice. The rest of this grind is gonna fly by. We don't need most of this for the predictable future, so no reason to hang on to things like this strange fruit and stardust and potions and such. Oh, holy crap. This actually scared me. The alt over there got a posty-Pete random. I was wondering if this was gonna happen while I had it here spawning events for me, and sure enough, here he is. I don't know if I should take that as a sign to pick up the pace, or he's just checking up on me to make sure I'm still in my chunks, but it makes me nervous. Ooh, okay, so this is my first exposure to forestry events, being that I started this account before they were added to the game. I did not realize that the Flowering Bush event gives strange fruit as a potential prize. This is huge for the Brio grind back in the Palace chunk, and I'm sure a lot of other places too. I mentioned that a few episodes back when I got a strange plant, but I had no idea at the time I could get these any other way. We're closing in on the last few levels. I did switch the canvas to total logs left, and we are surprisingly close to the same number on both skills. I'll end up having to chop extra to burn more logs, but the forestry events giving woodcutting XP really even those out nicely. Also, Lunatar is over here giving me shit for calling all chunkers nerds, but he knows I'm right.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
59 woodcutting. I think we're actually going to finish this one. I really wasn't expecting to get it done before I saw Pete again. We got another Varrock Mine beginner clue, and I haven't lost the previous one either, so if we roll the right way, we might actually get a clue done. Okay, now I know Pete is screwing with me. It would be just like him to show up right before I finish a grind to roll out. I know I'm going to get the level to cut yews before I burn them by about 100 logs, so as soon as we get 60 wood cutting, I'm going to chop and hold on to a log so we don't have any tragic random event teleports literal moments before finishing a chunk. There we go, 60 wood cutting. Chunk task complete. Thank you, chunk chat, thank you. We got a smidge of time before a random event potentially shows up, so we'll burn these logs, then go pre-chop a yew and see if Pete really was messing with me by showing up for the ult. Just a few logs left, and it's been about an hour and 45 minutes since our last random event, so every random event interval has a rapidly increasing chance to spawn a random. No forestry events in that time either, so I know it hasn't been negated. 60 fire making, chunk task complete, and another chunk down. Man, this area has been so good to us. Let's flip over to the chunk picker and see where we roll before we wrap up this episode. I'm definitely logging out while we roll, since I will get a random in the next 10 minutes, guaranteed. I was really excited to finally finish a larger grind and roll. I really feel like this is the first big task we've done, and this is sort of my first really earned chunk roll. But I screwed that up by completely forgetting to select the new possible chunks. I promise I wasn't trying to avoid these chunks, but I did mess up, and if anyone has any good punishment suggestions for my faux pas, I'm all ears. I can't change it now though, so let's see the roll. Bank chunk, bank chunk, bank chunk, no whammies. Yes! Oh hell yes, this is incredible. Dude, this is such a huge chunk for me. A teleport location, an anvil, all those shops with all those best in slots, and oh, we can do a clue, and quests, not to mention a rune shop. As always, a huge thanks to my channel members who help to directly support the channel. It is truly my dream to be able to make content for a living, and we're a few supporters off of that goal, but each time someone signs up, it feels just a bit more possible. Thank you guys so much. I'm Chunk Evil. See you next time.